It's 5 minutes after. This is the meeting of the Local Housing Partnership on January 20th, and we are having a Zoom meeting, and we have a quorum present, so I will call the meeting to order. And we have a speaker joining us today, and that is Ryan Curley, who's going to be talking about the small lots zoning bylaw that he has proposed. And I did send it out to everybody with some commentary from Chatham. And they also had a description of the Dennis bylaw to this effect. So other towns are looking at it as well. But Ryan, if you're there, would you like to field questions or would you like to give us a summary?
He's muted. He has to unmute.
Yes, I'll ask him to unmute.
Yep.
Ah, there he is.
There he is.
Yeah,
Hi,
sorry.
Ryan. Thank you for
I thought you
joining
guys
us.
were doing minutes, so.
We'll do minutes second.
All right.
You are up, sir. So would you like to give us a summary, Ryan, or would you like us to ask questions, or how would you like to proceed?
Sure. So the proposal or the bylaw provides a limited form of zoning relief for lots that are deemed unbuildable, and allows for those lots to be buildable, but solely for deed restricted affordable housing. Overall in the town of Wellfleet, there's 44 lots that might qualify, or 44 parcels. And at the end of the day, it will be, fewer than that actually get built on as a result of this bylaw. And some of those parcels, that there's other issues, if there's enough room for a housing unit with a setback from marsh, for instance. But yeah, and it sets the minimum lot size at 10,000 square feet, which is the minimum that still qualifies for Title V. And then it does have another section that allows for parcels under 10,000 square feet with a special permit, and that typically would happen if a certain area ends up getting a sewer, for example. Then it could be possible that there would be housing units built on parcels under that size. But for the purpose of Title V, 10,000 square feet is the minimum allowed. So
Great. I noticed that too. That's at 628B4. That was one of my questions. You're not proposing it for under 10,000, except where they have a sewer system. There's no, like, they couldn't have an alternative septic and share it. And
I mean, if they have a cluster system, it's possible that it might be able to be on under 10,000 square feet.
Right.
But I don't know, realistically, the only way that a lot under that size would really be built on would be if there was a sewer of some sort. And that I don't know where I was going on that.
So Ryan, I can answer. Ryan,
Join our group.
Ryan, so basically it's still 10,000 square feet per bedroom. So even if you had 10,000 square feet, could you have more than one bedroom?
Yes, you could have more than one bedroom on a lot. There's two different forms of zoning relief in the bylaw. One is the reduction in minimum size. The other is reduction in road frontage. So you do have some parcels that are significantly larger than 10,000 square feet, but they're unbuildable because they lack enough road frontage currently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I would say that the other thing that the bylaw does is that it doesn't allow for the creation of more lots that would meet this definition than that there are today. So the cutoff on the time that the lots could have been created in the bylaw is in 2021.
Right, saw that. So Ryan, is it only for single family units? You couldn't have you couldn't have a primary residence and build something attached to that residence that would qualify under this bylaw?
As for single family residence, I mean, if somebody builds a house, they can, have an attached garage or workplace, depending on if they have enough room on the lot to meet those demands. But the bylaw itself is, solely for housing, if that makes sense.
So I'm sorry, Susan, go ahead.
Yeah, do you have any idea, Brian, how many of those 44 have any potential? I mean, one of the reasons I ask is there are 3 or 4 numbers on my street, and from the best I can tell, there's no way you could put a house on them. They're like on the dune on the water side of the road.
Yep. So there are 18 that are entirely upland and do not have and are not close to water bodies. So those are, those do not have issues with setbacks from marshes and that kind of stuff. There's still a few things that could cause those lots to be unbuildable. It's kind of, I mean, there's potential that, a couple might have deed restrictions, or that there could be, wells and septic systems that are too close from the neighboring parcels that would render a lot functionally unbuildable.
So you think it's 18, give or take a few, or?
I say 18 have a really high probability of meeting the terms of the bylaw. The other 26, I think of those as a coin flip, where they may or may not meet the terms of the bylaw.
I apologize to the people who were waiting. I didn't realize that I had to let you in, so it was my error.
That's okay.
We're here now.
Yay.
Great. Thank you for joining us. So we're just discussing with Ryan the new bylaw, and I threw it open to questions. Other questions? Yes, Jan.
First of all, Ryan, thank you for taking this on. I know you're trying to really get something done. And from what I understand, I've listened to a few planning board meetings. I think you're trying to get this on town meeting in April. Just so you don't misunderstand me, I have no questions or concerns about your intent, but I read this through several times as someone who's participated in bylaw drafting on a number of occasions. And I came up with like 2 pages of things, Ryan, where I think you have serious drafting issues. And it's not, again, it's not your intent. It's not the square footage or anything like that. It's drafting issues where I think there's conflicts with the existing bylaw, where maybe the way you've stated something may not be what you mean. There's just a number of issues, and I would urge you not to try and push this through. I think there's problems. I couldn't support this on town meeting floor because of the drafting issues that I see.
So
if it's a petitioned article, we can't help you with that also.
So the bylaw itself is almost a carbon copy of a bylaw in Yarmouth.
But that doesn't mean it works with our bylaws. And I can tell you
Yes,
that.
it incorporates
Hearing.
Wellfleet's bylaws as well.
But Ryan, I see problems. We can agree to disagree. I see 2 pages worth of problems.
Jan,
Maybe Jan, you could share.
yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Jan, can you maybe have a separate conversation with Ryan and go
Well, if
through
this is a
or send
petition
him?
article, I don't know if I can do that if it's a petition article.
Well, wait, let's back up a second, Ryan. Wouldn't this be a bylaw that was brought by the select board?
It could either be brought by the select board or it could be petitioned.
So we went through this on the ADU bylaw last year, just for the sake of argument. It's better if it comes as a select board bylaw, proposed bylaw, as opposed to a petition when you have more leeway.
You have more review, I would say.
Okay.
For a petition bylaw, I would still be able to change it. Depending on, yeah, but it varies. So,
Okay. So Jan, you're our representative from the ZBA, so I think we respect what you have to say. If you could get, or maybe either write up or talk to Ryan directly about those things, maybe we could incorporate those changes. And you say they're more, they're not substantive, they're more procedural.
I guess I'm not sure how to characterize them. I just would say there's serious drafting issues. There's conflicts, there's issues. There's a lot of issues.
Okay. So if you could get that to Ryan, so he could at least
And
have that
again,
feedback.
I'm not unwilling to do that, but if this is a petition article under ethics bylaws, we can't help on petition articles.
Well, I don't think it's
I'm not
either
gonna
yet.
lose-
At
What?
the moment, it's nothing. I mean,
At the moment, I don't think it's either a petition or
Okay.
a select board bylaw. So I think we're still in the formative stage.
Okay, I just don't want to jeopardize my position on the zoning board. There's
Okay.
just no way I'm going to do that.
All right, whatever you feel comfortable with, but to the extent that you can, get those changes to Ryan or get your feedback to Ryan and he can take a look at it.
Can she confer with a town lawyer to?
Well, I'll confer with, yeah.
Right.
I'll call like the ethics lawyer of the day or something tomorrow.
And Ryan, I'm sure at some point this will go to town council for review, or has it already?
it depends on how it goes. So if it goes as a select board article, then it goes to town council for review. If it is a petitioned article, the warrant itself is reviewed by town council before town meeting. But if it's petitioned, there's, I don't know.
How will you decide if it's petitioned or select board?
I would, within the coming weeks, if it's voted one way or the other.
So if the select board votes no, then you would move forward with it as a petitioned article?
I believe so, yes.
Or can we maybe move up just a tad on this? Let's talk about the intent of the bylaw for right now, and then we can talk about the process. So are there concerns or opinions that people have about the content of the bylaw? What its proposed purpose is? Are we generally are people generally supportive of it?
Yeah, I'm supportive of the idea, you know.
I mean, I think it would be a great way to possibly get a few more affordable houses built.
Right. I think, Ryan, I think it's based on, isn't it based on the Dennis bylaw?
Yarmouth for me, but Dennis has a similar one.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
We know that Dennis's experience, they've had it for a couple of years, I think. Unfortunately, we were going to be joined by somebody from the CDP, Andrea, who was going to talk to us about the experience in other Cape towns, but she had some family emergency and can't be with us today. But I have talked with them, and in Dennis, they effectively have had 2 zoning permits issued under this bylaw in a couple years. And, you know, that's not nothing, but one is a specialized one for the VA home there. And so it's really one additional unit, and who is apparently okay with the Ryan, would every permit that issued under here be deed restricted?
Yes, they're for deed restricted affordable houses, for either in perpetuity or however long the statute or,
Right.
statutes allow.
So all of these would be theoretically affordable because they would be deed restricted under the terms of DHCD's rules on that. Jan?
Just to clarify through you, Gary, to Ryan, as I understand this bylaw, if the lot is 10,000 square feet or above, that's by right, correct?
Yes.
And the only time a special, yeah,
So anyone who had a piece of property that had sufficient setbacks and road access and frontage could apply to build, for that matter, a one-bedroom house, a tiny house, on a 10,000 square foot lot. Yes, Jan?
another question. So if it's by right, by what process is it going to be deed restricted?
By the process of the bylaw and issuing the building permit.
The building inspector issues a deed restriction?
It's the terms of the bylaw. So as part of the review of the building permit, it would have to include a deed restriction as the terms of the bylaw dictate.
A deed restriction gets, I don't know, a deed restriction gets done before the building inspector approves something?
Well, you have to file a building permit to build anything. You just,
Well, I know that, but when
Yep.
does a deed restriction get done?
with the filing of the building permit.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure that, but okay.
Would it be the same as the affidavit of compliance on the ADUs? Because that's through the building commissioner.
But that's listed in that bylaw. That's not stated in this bylaw. There's nothing stated in this bylaw about that until you get to a special permit.
No, it's right in the first paragraph. The sec or 6.28.b.1. So
Where? 6.28.b.
because it calls for the
Right.
state guidelines, that basically requires it to be affordable restricted. I thought about copying in the state guidelines itself, but as we know, sometimes those change over time. And I didn't want the wrong definitions to be stuck in bylaws forever.
No, that's smart.
I can tell you, Jan, that the deed rider that goes along with the buy down houses, which I think is referencing the same deed rider in the LIP program, in the first paragraph of the proposed bylaw, it gets filed when the deed is filed on the transfer. So in this case, it would be the time, I think, of the building permit.
Yep, and so that's in 6.28.b.3. It says building inspector may allow construction of a single family home to be restricted as an affordable home ownership or rental dwelling unit in perpetuity with a maximum time allowed by law. So again, as part of the issuing of a building permit is required to be deed restricted as affordable housing.
Okay.
And that deed restriction applies even if you put your brother in there. Ryan, is that correct? That
Yes.
your a relative will have to meet the requirements of the deed restriction
Yes.
and the affordability.
So is that the same as later on in 6.28.b7, where you're saying that the zoning board of appeals under a special permit granting authority could require a regulatory agreement or a deed rider? Is that the same thing? And then if that is, why then is the zoning board requiring it?
That one is for the lots that are under 10,000 square feet.
No, I understand that, but is that where you say requiring a regulatory agreement and or deed rider, is that the same thing as you're saying would be required anyway under the state bylaws, regulations?
Well, the
And
state,
so why does the zoning board have anything to do with it if the building inspector has nothing to do with it? For lots over 10,000 square feet.
for the lots over 10,000 square feet, as the building permit is issued, it would have to have a deed restriction attached to the property. For a review by the zoning board of appeals for lots under 10,000 square feet, the granting authority then is the ZBA and not the building inspector.
Right, I understand that. Okay, okay, go ahead, keep going.
Other folks, do you have questions or comments?
I always leave these kinds of discussions to Jan.
Well, I think you tuned in late. I have a number of things, but we're not going to get into them now.
All right. I did notice that on the spreadsheet you sent, Ryan, you did your search over a quarter acre as opposed to 10,000 square feet. So are there a lot of other lots potentially that would qualify between a quarter and a tenth of an acre?
No, a tenth of an acre is not 10,000 square feet.
I'm sorry, 10,000 square feet is a quarter acre. Approximately.
Yeah,
Okay. So the total population is just these 44 units.
those 44 units I looked at, there's over 200 lots deemed unbuildable in the town of Wellfleet. And then I went through them all and looked to see which ones this might be applicable to. So that's where the 40, so of those, 18 are upland and have road access with an existing road. The other 26, by far the majority of those might have setback issues related to, resource areas for the Conservation Commission. And some are on, there's a couple that have paper roads. So access is iffy one way or the other. So.
Well, I think 18, potentials is worth fighting for. I mean,
Yeah, and if it's bigger than 10,000 square feet, I forget what the next limit is. It could be, a two bedroom house rather than one. So I don't have the exact sizes memorized for the different, bedroom allowances under Title V.
Would it be helpful for us as a committee to endorse the concept of this bylaw, Ryan?
I would say it's helpful, but if Jan has some, I'm more than willing to go back in the bylaw and correct some of the issues that Jan might see. So.
Well, I was also trying to keep it a little broader, to endorse the concept of using previously unbuildable lots to be able to be used for affordable houses. I mean, I assume, Jan, you're in favor of the concept.
The concept,
Yeah.
So maybe let's just work on that wording a little bit. And then maybe we could have a motion and we can discuss a little bit more. So you want to say that again, Susan? Or you want to move?
So I would move that the local housing partnership supports the concept of using previously unbuildable lots to build affordable houses.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
I second that.
Thank you very much. And so let's open it up now to discussion. I see both John and Bruce here. Do you guys have any issues from the open space or conservation perspective for this?
There we go. No, conceptually, I think this makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And I think one of the helpful things we may want to do is look at the list of 44. I went through that and identify the best 10 or so
Right.
candidates that aren't on paper roads and aren't half in the marsh or something like that, and really narrow that down. But I think it's a really good idea. I also think Dennis, was it Dennis or Yarmouth's experience or somebody's, where they only had 2 successful
yeah.
houses built in the course of a number of years,
Right.
may be instructive to sort of how this will be operationally.
I think it's interesting when we start talking about numbers that have been successful in other towns. You know, we sort of went through the same thing with ADUs, and we were told, well, you know, there's only this town or that town passed a bylaw and they've only had 2 in 5 years. But I think that there's a lot more heat on the issue of affordable housing now than there was 5 years ago, for example. So things that might not have produced much before may be in the process of producing more now.
And I'd make the observation that ADU passed overwhelmingly, and there's no affordability restriction. That's just increased the number of year-round rentals. But every unit here would effectively be affordable. So, you know, it seems to me we would be even more in favor of this one. And indeed, maybe we can put some oomph behind both getting out the word. And I mean, it's so expensive to build one of these that maybe there's some incentives we can give or work with the clean water folks to see if there are a package of incentives we could put together for people to actually create these.
And part of the reason I suggested picking 10 really good sites is to move away from arguments with other committees in terms of water usage, conservation, and what have you. And just
John, that's an excellent idea. Ryan, have you had discussions yet with the planning board, or any public hearings been scheduled?
I've tried to have discussions with the planning board. They spent 2 meetings trying to decide about whether or not they were going to talk about it. I did have some feedback on it after the first meeting, the last, I don't know, 15 minutes of it. And did get some feedback then. And then the second one, they at least said that they will start examining the affordable housing issues in Wellfleet. But that's about it.
And do
what
you
about
have, what about the select board? Is that what you were going to say?
The
Exactly.
select board, we haven't voted on it yet. I did present it to them. So we'll see how that goes.
Is it on any agenda in the foreseeable future, Ryan, that we can come and support you?
I will probably have it on the agenda on February 8th would be my guess. Because at that point, I need to know if it's going to have to be petitioned or if it can be a select board article. I know that it was being planned to be sent to town council for review already, though.
All right.
Off the record, do you have a prediction about the select board?
That would not be, yeah. Well, you can't be off the record and be recorded.
I was going to say.
Okay,
So.
you're right. I'm sorry. Can't help myself.
Don't say anything, just give us a thumb.
Since Ryan has the dual, wears many hats, including chair of the select board, I'll let him off the hook on that. Yes. I thought you had a question. Right.
Just
But
to add
I
my,
think-
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I really agree with what John said. I mean, basically in concept, I think this is a good idea. Obviously, if there are properties that are near marshes, et cetera, we have concerns, but I think the idea of going through and picking a number of properties that really might be ideal candidates is a good one.
Yeah, that's a 18 number, so. You know, and maybe their habitat would build something on them, you know, we don't know how it might get used. So,
Well, that's a good point.
Mhm.
You know, it does say it, and if it goes before the ZBA, a neighbor would have the ability to comment, right, Jan?
Say that, I'm sorry, say it again, Gary?
If this was a special permit hearing on this through the
Oh,
ZBA,
if it's a special
then-
permit, all the abutters get
abutters-
legal notices.
right, abutters and abutters would have the ability to comment
On a special permit for this bylaw?
on any bylaw.
Well,
But
not if
yes,
it's
on this
by, not
bylaw.
if it's by right through a building inspector.
So neighbors would not, the only ones that they would comment on would be the undersized ones?
That's the only thing they'd be notified on, right?
Okay, but it does say something about neighbors and something about in keeping with the surrounding area. How do you determine that?
so it includes a calculation in the terms of the bylaw. Where is it? Sorry, I don't have it up at the second. It has to
Anyway,
do
there
with
would be
the
some
setbacks.
provision for that.
Well,
Well,
it just says an estimate. It doesn't say how that estimate gets done or who does it or,
yeah, the building inspector would do it. So this is all under the building inspector's terms.
Have you spoken with the building inspector?
No, I have not. You know, our new one just started last month.
He's got some good ideas, though.
Yep. So I haven't spoken to him yet.
Sharon, you want to share that you found him to be helpful in
Oh,
your
yeah,
ADU process?
he was great. He was great on the ADU. He and Victor both proposed some tweaks to the bylaw to make it more clear for the building commissioners to interpret. But also in my own process of building an ADU and getting it permitted and all of that, he was very helpful and enthusiastic and supportive of affordable year-round dwellings. So I would recommend, if you have an opportunity to speak with him, that it would be useful to have him look over your bylaw and point out areas that he might find confusing or difficult to interpret or enforce.
That's a good suggestion.
It's always good to have him on your side.
Yep.
Right. Especially if we're looking at a date that's only a couple of weeks out to, in theory, if you brought it before the select board on the 8th and they approved it, it would go to be a warrant article, Ryan?
Yes, it would follow the normal process. And the planning board would have to hold a hearing on it and do a report on it as well. I mean,
I think if you have the building inspector in your corner, that's a real plus.
yeah, I would prefer it if it was a select board article, just because it allows, you know, a little bit more.
but
Dan, do you
Ryan,
have-
then, as I understand it, what you will try to do first is to have this as a select board article, correct?
Yes,
Okay, okay, fine. Then I'm okay with this. I mean, as far as making your comments to you, as long as that's what you're gonna do first.
All right. Other comments that you have, Ryan? Anything else that you want to bring to our attention on this?
not on this bylaw, no.
Should we take a vote though, Gary, on this?
Yes, we will in a second. Before I close off discussion, I want to see if anybody else has any other comments or questions. So it has been moved and seconded that we support the filing of a bylaw to promote small lots for affordable housing. Any other discussion?
Say that one more time.
I'm just reiterating the motion. Jan,
Did- The motion was
want-
that we supported the concept,
yeah, we support the concept,
right?
exactly. Do you need us to reread the motion, or are you ready for a vote?
I should
Vote on it?
probably just make sure I have it because I'm going to write it
Yeah.
down.
Okay, if you
The
would,
local housing partnership votes to support the concept of a bylaw to promote the use of previously unbuildable lots for affordable houses.
excellent. I think we'd want to say housing.
Okay,
It could take various forms. Okay. Any other comments or questions that people have? It's been moved and seconded, so I'm going to call for the vote. If you would raise your hand and signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for both for being here today and for bringing this forward. I think this could really turn into something, a couple of houses in Wellfleet make a difference. It certainly make a difference in the lives of the people who are potentially impacted by that. So we really applaud this, Ryan, and thank you very much for coming here today to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Ryan, for all the work that goes into being chair of the select board. You
Bless
deserve
you.
many kudos. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. All right.
We actually have a select board meeting tonight, so.
Oh, the fun never ends. All right. So I'm going to move to the rest of the meeting of the partnership at this
Gary,
time.
can I just say, I'm going to have to sign off in about 10 minutes. So,
Sure. Do you want to share with us? Where are you now?
well, right
Where
now,
in the world are you?
where's Waldo? I am currently parked in a campground outside of Tucson, surrounded by saguaros and gorgeous mountains and wonderful sunsets and warm weather.
Nobody likes you, Sharon.
Sorry, guys.
Sharon,
You get a chance, Sharon.
I missed where you are. What?
Outside of Tucson,
Ah,
outside of Tucson, Arizona.
great.
There's a beautiful botanical garden in Phoenix if you get near there. So,
I'm not going to Phoenix. I'm sorry, Gary.
all right. I'm just telling you.
Bottom
All
of
right.
my list.
Let me see if I can take this meeting
Yeah,
back.
but there's the Desert Museum where you are, and that's
That's
just.
about-
good.
It's about a quarter mile from us. We've been
Ooh.
there many times.
We've spent about 6 years going out to Tucson, so I know, I can tell you all the good places to eat.
Well, I lived here for 13 years, so
All right, you could tell me.
All right, let me see if I could take this back. So the first order of business is I had sent out the wrong meeting minutes. I sent you out the right ones the other day. So it is the approval of the minutes of the December 16th meeting. So if you would just take a minute and look at that, and then I'll entertain a motion. Are there any questions? Seeing
I
none,
did read them before and they were fine.
great. Who would like to move them?
So moved.
Excellent. Second?
Second,
Excellent. So they've been moved and seconded. Would you signify your approval by raising your hand saying aye?
I,
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Very good. So I don't think I have reported to this group yet, but I think largely as a result of our successful Housing Angels program, we received in excess of $41,000 in
Wow.
year-end donations to the trust, to the Housing Trust, which is by far and away more money than we've ever received that year-end before. So I think we deserve some credit for promoting consciousness about housing and fundraising on it,
Mhm.
but I also thank all of the people who donated. We got an unsolicited donation, a third unsolicited donation of $25,000 from
Wow.
people who used to live in Wellfleet and formed a foundation and have decided that we are worth supporting, and we've never actually talked to them.
Wow, that was
Wow.
25 of the 40?
25 of the 42, yes.
Wow. What's the
But
name of the foundation?
I have it, Dan. I'll tell you it. Excuse me, Susan, I'll tell you it.
No, I mean, if it's just a family name, it doesn't matter if it's some, I would
Right,
just.
it's not a foundation that, it's not some big foundation, but ready, it's the Benjamin and Seema Pulier, Pulier Charitable Foundation.
Huh.
And they're just
Oh,
people.
so
who
that's just a family.
Yeah.
That's a family who used to live in Wellfleet. I
Wow.
don't know if anybody knew them, but I don't believe they are still with us, but their foundation has seen fit to send us those checks for the last 3 years.
Excellent.
Yeah,
That's
so-
great.
But anyway, it's really good work on that, and we can talk about how we promote that going forward. We are now on the summer program. So we've had some discussion with Stephen Russell. So for all of you know that Stephen has proposed that he and his band, which is the Narrowland String Band, am I saying that correctly?
Yep.
Would be happy, this will be their 40th year together.
On
they
and
would-
off. Yeah.
That's true for a lot of things here. Anyway, they would be happy to be the feature on another program for the Housing Trust, and it's now proposed to be on August 7th. And I believe is that a Friday or a Saturday? It's on a
Sunday.
week-
It's a
Sunday.
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 Okay. Sunday, and they have suggested an evening performance beginning at 7 o'clock. So this would, as opposed to last year being at Press Hall, this would be at Watt. It would be a little later in the evening at 7 o'clock, and it would be inside. So we wouldn't have the issue of either weather or mosquitoes.
Hopefully we don't have the COVID issue either.
If we have the COVID issue next August, oh, so be it, but we'll have to deal with that accordingly. So that would give us a little bigger capacity. So the suggestion has been that we call it 40 for 40. They're 40 years together, and that we make the ticket prices $40.
I'm not sure
there-
Stephen supports that title. So
Oh, all right.
before we go public with it, we need
Well,
to
that-
confirm.
I thought we had all kind of said the last time the four of us met that somehow having the $40 in the title wasn't.
Wasn't me. I
Essential.
was just, right, I'm just playing on their 40 years
Yeah.
together. So, but do you not like that idea? I don't have any vested interest in it.
You mean the title?
Well, let's go back. Is $40 too much to charge? I know we're trying to
At
raise
the-
money, but we don't want to exclude anybody.
At the hall, it was a $40 requested, recommended, pay what you can.
I think it was 20, Susan.
Oh, no, it wasn't 40. I mean, whatever the number was.
It was 20 was
treated
requested, right?
As,
To pay what you
you know,
can.
yeah. And I assume Watt is donating all of the money for the tickets to us.
Right, I think that you raise a good point, Susan, is that we need to clarify with Watt. In the case of the Pres Hall, it was very straightforward. We got all the money that went to the tickets. But I don't know that conversation has happened with Watt.
Well, I sort of assumed it had, but I think that's critical.
Yes, I think so too.
I mean, by the way, I told Pres Hall we weren't going to use their date, so.
Wait,
I mean,
wait,
I think I could get it back, but I really wanted to be respectful of their
Sure.
previous willingness to be so helpful.
course.
I didn't want them to have to hold on to the date any longer than what it seemed like we had decided. And I really I just assumed that Watt had already agreed that we would be getting the proceeds.
I'm going to
So-
assume that that's the case, Susan, but we will clarify.
Okay,
You know, so I think it's my feeling, and I've said this to Stephen, that that he's the organizer of this, and that we will support in every way possible, but that he's sort of the decision maker, because I think that's the role he's taken on.
I would agree.
I don't think anybody's taking, right, he's, if you will, the impresario or the, you know, the
Right,
producer.
Right. So,
Um,
you know, if he says $40 tickets, you know, and what theater, then I think, you know, we let him run with it. And
I honestly, I think it's a circular discussion, Sharon. I think we
Okay.
initially came up with $40, but is it, all I'm asking now is that too much to charge?
Yes.
I mean, at the last concert, there were families there with children.
Right.
And that's a lot of money, I think, you know, and the children were having a great time. Maybe there could be a family ticket, something, but you know, if you have two children, you're up to $120. That's
No, but that goes with if Watt is willing to make it a recommended amount. If Watt's going to keep some of the money, then I don't know what we can say to them. But I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, it would be crazy to think people would come with kids and pay that much. So
I have the impression that Stephen is visualizing a very different kind of event from last year's. And then I could be totally wrong, but I think he's imagining something more along the lines of Yule for Fuel, and which was somewhat less family friendly, frankly. I mean, it wasn't little kids running around in the grass. So, you know,
it was
he's
cold.
had experience with it, but I don't know.
Are you talking about Yule for Fuel this year as opposed to in years past, Sharon?
No, no, I'm thinking about Yule for Fuel when Stephen was running the show.
Well, I'd like to go back. I mean, if we think we're in the fundraising and consciousness raising business, quote unquote.
Mhm.
So, but I'd rather have more consciousness raising if the money is a prohibitor for more people participating.
No, I definitely think there should be you know, $40 or what you can pay, you know, but with the idea that this is really about raising money.
We could have
And-
it $40 per couple or family. Something like that.
You know, I'm just going to go back to something maybe Sharon said, that Stephen is really in charge of this. And I mean, we can say we have concerns, but I think the price is really up to him and whatever he and what are going to work out. I mean, we can tell him what we're thinking, but or our concerns.
Sure, he always has the veto. And can change whatever he likes. I think the question now I'm just trying to get to is, what's a fair amount to charge? We'll raise some money and we'll get a lot of people in there. Do you want to keep it at 20? Do you want to raise it to 40, make it $40 a family, $40 a household?
Suggested ticket price, $40. Pay what you can.
And then maybe a family, you know, again, it's discussed with Stephen, but maybe a family rate. He may already have ideas about that.
Sharon, I know you said in an email to Stephen that this was his show. Did he respond and say, okay?
I'm not sure. Right, I'm
Let
not
me
sure.
check.
I think,
Um,
I mean, we did a lot of the procedural things last year. I mean, certainly the promotion and the front of the house and things of that nature. So I think we'll still be doing a lot of that, I would imagine.
Well, and again, I don't know what Watt does in terms of promotion, but I mean, Preservation Hall did a lot of promotion for us. So if maybe Watt does the same thing. I'm just not familiar with Watt. I mean,
Well, honestly, I think it will be up to us, you know, to go around and promote it and talk to people about it and try to get it into, you know, the papers and the Chamber of Commerce and any other flyers and things like that. So I think that probably will fall on us.
That's not so hard.
No. I think we should be responsible for that anyway. And frankly, again, it's part of the consciousness raising effort. Even if people don't come, if they see affordable housing events in town, it helps to promote the idea. Okay, we had talked about either or some kind of a raffle or what do you call it, like a bidding site, but I sense that there's no enthusiasm for that. So what do people think?
So Elizabeth did get you know, a weekend rental from the Modern House Trust. And we have to, you know, we probably have to pursue that and nail it down a little bit. And I'm like, I think we may be renting our house on Lieutenant Island this summer instead of living in it. And, you know, like, I'm thinking that we would maybe donate a week of that. And maybe we could convince other people to do that.
Yeah, we have to have a way.
Yeah, what's the way? What's the mechanism?
Do we want to take on that idea of a silent auction or a raffle or?
It might be easier, Gary, in a way, to suggest or to request people who rent out their houses or some property in the summer to donate a specific period of time.
Right, I understand we could collect the different rewards, but do we really want to take on, and do we have a way to do that?
Well, all I'm saying is I think an auction kind of thing takes more planning, at least than I'm willing to put into it.
Yeah, I think so. I'm saying the same thing, Sharon. I think
Okay.
I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
I think we're agreeing about it. I wouldn't, you know, we could do, just for the sake of argument, Elizabeth, thank you very much for talking to the Modern House folks. If in fact they're lovely, if we had one thing we could, you know, do raffle tickets for, is that something we would want to do? Goodbye, Judy.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I have to leave.
Thank you very much, Judy.
And you know
There.
what, I do too. I'm so sorry.
Well, that's all right. We don't have, honestly, it's January. We can do this another day.
Okay,
If we run out of time today.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Safe
Sharon.
travels.
Raffling off one or two things, I mean, that sounds pretty simple. The whole auction business is, I think,
Yeah,
way over our heads.
with that raffle, are we talking about that raffle occurring at the concert?
Could do that.
Oh, that's a good question, Susan, are we selling tickets beforehand and around town and at that event?
I think it would, if it, you know, to sell enough tickets to make it worth it, it would have to be more than just at the event.
Yes, I think so too. Do you think about it? We don't have to make a decision today, but really do think about it as, do we want to raffle off one or two things? We could probably make that manageable. We could incorporate that into our advertising and promotion for it. and have a way to, to sell tickets for one item is probably doable for us. And the other question is, how much will we raise? I mean, if we're not raising $5,000 or $10,000, it's probably not worth doing. So think about it, and we'll come to conclusion on this at the next meeting.
I just want to say to the Modern House Trust there has a weekend in November set aside for this purpose at the Kugel Gibbs house.
Excellent.
So, and that would be like a 2-night stay, I think, and it's like a value of $1,000, I think. So that's a pretty good one. And then, like I mentioned before, we would be really happy to donate like a tour of our oyster farm. We've been taking people out in the past and showing them what we do, and going over the terroir and Wellfleet and such, and it's fun. People usually like it. So yeah, so we would be happy to do something like that. And I was gonna say too, we've been doing raw bars at the What Theater in the past. And I don't know if that would be something that could be part of this concert as a package. I don't know what date this event is again.
August 7th.
August
which is a
7th, okay.
Sunday night, and Stephen has suggested 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Which, if it's a nice night in the summertime,
Yeah.
we're more likely to get people than during the day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
if Watt lets you do a raw bar, and again, we keep the proceeds. That'd be
Proceeds
great.
come to us, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that would be something we'd be happy to do too, as long as we don't have any other events booked. That data would have to check, but we've done some events there in the past. So
Elizabeth, have you
yeah.
done it for other organizations, and you have charged and the money goes to the organization?
For the raw bar?
Yes.
It's been like part of the What Theater's openings. So the What Theater has been hiring us to do the raw bar. So their opening nights, we've been doing them.
Okay, I think we probably need to have a conversation with Stephen at some point about where the money goes and what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
He obviously also has
I thought we could, or it could be part of or we could include it in like the event, the night, like for people, so as a pool for people to, they got oysters too.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. That would be terrific.
Okay.
All right. I will say, I'll put this on the agenda for our February meeting, and we'll say, let's come to a decision on all these things by then, so that we can move forward in our planning for the event. Anything else on the summer event that anyone has? So I wanted to report that the CPA has recommended a number of housing-related items to be included in the town warrant for April. Does anybody actually know what date in April the town meeting is? I don't yet. Okay, so I wanted to tell you that they have approved another buy down. And can I just say as an aside, we're really pleased to announce that our 8th buy down family has found a home.
Oh, yeah.
So we're very excited. It's a woman and her kids, and we're optimistic that it will close next month.
And a wonderful woman who's selling it to them.
Yes, I was going to say is that without mentioning any names.
I'm not mentioning any names.
But no, I think it is that someone had the spirit to say, I'd like to sell it to a Wellfletian who is a first-time home buyer. And I don't know whether they're taking less or not, but to make that commitment to at least give the first right of refusal to sell it that way is terrific. And I think we would love to promote that going forward.
And it's a cute little house. It's
I'm
really
sorry?
cute. I said it's a
Oh,
really
it's in
cute
a wonderful
house
location.
and a great location.
Right. So I can announce it if and when it goes through next month. I don't want to prejudice it, but
Did you announce another one at our last meeting?
Same one.
the same
Oh,
one.
it's the
This is-
same one,
This
okay.
is in process, but
Wish it was another.
they have a P&S now and they have a closing date. So
Great.
it is making progress. But anyway, so the CPA approved another buy down grant, which would be our 9th for $185,000. They also approved a housing contribution to the trust of $35,000. All these are below what was asked. I'll tell you what the big item was, and which will be on town meeting, is that we are funding the new playground. at the
Oh,
school.
wow.
So
At
there
the
is-
elementary school?
for those of you who don't know, the elementary school, do your kids go to Wellfleet Elementary School, Elizabeth?
I keep on
Oh,
muting.
that's okay.
Because they're so loud.
Yeah.
No, they're actually, our oldest goes up to Provincetown, and Loki, but Loki goes to the Montessori school, and they do spend a lot of time over there still, so
Yeah.
that's great.
So that, for those of you who don't know, the playground was condemned and had to be torn down, the old playground. And they have been without one for the last year. And if the CPA grant is approved by the voters in April, they'll be able to build a new playground over the summer. So for next year, they'll have a new swings and climbing structure and whatnot. It's incredibly expensive these days.
How much did the CPA allocate?
315,000.
Because they've also been doing some fundraising.
They've raised about 20,000.
That's great.
I think they needed another 10,000 to get to the 300.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah.
It depends upon whether you include this swinging thing or not, but yes, but there's enough money there to do the bulk of the playground.
Good.
And they've already got a design, and they've got a proposal from one of the state contract providers. So it is moving forward. Also on the housing front, we did give a grant to the Lily House, small grant to do some renovation to meet accessibility requirements. And also for the CDP for their housing institute, a small amount of money. So all those should be on the town warrant in April. I think I'm going to skip, unless someone has a burning desire, it's already after 5 o'clock, that we won't take on mission statement this time, that we'll maybe defer that to the next meeting, if that's okay with people. I will tell you that Mia Baumgartner, who has been the housing, who has been the state, the governor's appointment on the housing authority. Her term is ending. It's a 5-year term. Mia's done a great job. But we are looking for another person on the housing authority. So if anyone who would like to get more involved with some of the nitty-gritty programs, if you would like to be considered for that, you can let me know, or you can let Elaine McElroy know, and we'd be happy to walk you through the process of doing it. It's actually quite easy these days. It's all online now. So think about that if you have any interest on that. And I will tell you also that we are actually making great strides on the website. So we should have a draft website for you to look at our next meeting. I don't know that there's a lot of updates on other programs that has happened. So the things grind to a halt in January, but any other concerns or questions that people have? If they're not, I'm proposing February 24th, just picking out the last Thursday in February for our next meeting. And we should have a discussion about the summer program. We should have the actual motions to approve for the town warrant. And we'll take up the mission statement. Does that date work for everyone?
I think so.
Okay. I would certainly entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Sir.
Second,
Excellent. So this has been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I
Thank you all for your participation and your time today. Stay warm and dry. And we'll see you on the 24th.
Bye-bye.
Take care all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.